Most of the mainstream media is ignoring the horrific death of 18-year-old Kayler Ellingson after he was mowed down by a driver who claimed that he had a political argument. The North Dakota high school where Ellingson just graduated, holding a moment of silence for him during their homecoming football game last night. The driver told police he intentionally hit the teen because he thought the teen was, quote, a Republican extremist. No surprise here, none of the network evening newscasts have covered it since it happened last Sunday. But what if it was a Republican who was behind the wheel?
18 years old, was targeted and killed, run down in cold blood with an SUV by a radical left maniac. He was a radical left, stupid person, simply because he was a Republican, and he was so proud of being a Republican. And this guy ran him down, and not one mainstream media network has even mentioned this horrible crime. Think of it. Now think of it the other way. Think of it the other way. Supposing a MAGA person ran down somebody on the other side, it'd be the biggest story you've ever seen. It's a disgrace.
Alicia, there's still a lot to come out about this story. It's absolutely horrific, no matter the circumstance. But it was the driver himself who said that was his motive. And it is interesting that none of these evening news anchors have covered it.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, actually, as a journalist to see that. And it's also really troubling that the Associated Press, which is a news service that we use here at Fox News and is used by news organizations all over the world, didn't mention it when they wrote up the story. They just called this something that happened over a political argument. They didn't go into the details, which are actually admitted, but also incredibly important and heartbreaking. And I also saw that this kid was calling his mom while this was happening, saying that he was being chased. He was terrified. These are important details, and this is a network news story.
Yeah.
I really don't understand it.
You know, Laura, Republicans have jumped all over this. You've got a candidate saying that Biden has blood on his hands over this. You have other high-ranking Republicans in Congress and the Senate saying, hey, there's a connection here between the rhetoric, the calculated words that the Biden administration and Democrats chose to use coming into this election cycle, and the words parroted by this murdering driver. Let's take a listen to Biden's montage of quotes here.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans representing extremism. The extreme set of MAGA Republicans has chosen to go backwards, full of anger, violence, hate, and division. The MAGA Republicans don't just threaten our personal rights and economic security. They're a threat to our very democracy.
You know, I went back and read the entire transcript of the infamous interview where President Trump was blamed for Charlottesville by saying, you know, that there were decent people on each side. And I went back and read it twice before the show. And it was a complete lie.
Yes.
It really was. And I didn't have a strong opinion on it at the time. But to juxtapose that, right, this guy's literally parroting the exact phrasing that Democrats have calculated and brought to the public square. Seems like that news networks should at least consider that.
Well, what my father-in-law, of course, said is there are very fine people on both sides. And that's where they cut it, except the white supremacists and neo-Nazis who should be condemned totally. I think verbatim, that is what he said. But of course, they conveniently would cut that out because it was Donald Trump. Now, you just heard there Joe Biden, and I don't think there's any way to mix up what he said there. You're right. This driver who mowed down this teenager used the word extreme. And that is what you just heard there from Joe Biden time and time again. But the reason I think the networks don't want to cover this is because they would ultimately have to get back to what Joe Biden just said right there. They would have to trace it back to him calling us semi-fascists and the extreme MAGA Republicans. We're a threat to democracy. Threat. Well, I don't think you can ever blame someone for another person's actions, but the heightened rhetoric and the way that we're so divided right now and everything feels very tense and heightened, it doesn't ever help to have the President of the United States speaking like that, because sometimes you get people with ill intentions. Obviously, I think this guy had been drinking, And it's terrible. It is, as Alicia said, it's heartbreaking that it ever came to this. But shame on these news outlets for not covering this. This was a young man who lost his life. It should have never happened. And they have a duty, I think, to talk about this.
Yeah, I think I want to make clear we're not outraged that the politics aren't being interjected here. We're outraged, or at least I feel that way, because it looks like hypocrisy by the folks who should be able to tell a story straight. When I think back to the shoes on the other foot, you look at Steve Scalise was shot. All right, you look at Rand Paul. I think he was one of the ones that was attacked outside the State of the Union. I think it was 2018, Trump's State of the Union, where they tried to, Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, several were verbally attacked on their way out of there. And then you fast forward, and Rand Paul is literally attacked by his neighbor. We've got a quote from him, and this is Rand Paul speaking, saying, "Words can have violent consequences. President Biden needs to realize that his vilification of his opponents is inflaming some of his supporters to violence. As a victim of political violence, both sides need to recognize the consequences of heated rhetoric." And I think that's the part that bothers me. I fought a war, and for the most of the time I was fighting that war, the left would not allow me to say radical Islamic extremist. And now I fast forward 10 years, and they use this MAGA extremist at will. They just throw it out like it's nothing.
Yeah, about fellow Americans.
Yeah.
I am not someone, and I try to be consistent on this. I don't like to blame rhetoric for the actions of crazy or violent people, because I think we go down that path. It's unfair. It's its own form of demagoguery. But the other side, the left, does it all the time, and the rules are not the same for both sides. There's just no question about that. I think back not that long ago to an assassination plot against a Supreme Court justice. That happened early in a week. By Sunday, not a single Sunday show on the networks even mentioned it except for Fox News Sunday. An assassination plot against a Supreme Court justice. The Speaker of the House pointedly refused to condemn terrorist attacks against pro-life pregnancy centers. Not a peep about any of that. And President Trump, I think, was exactly right in that speech to say if the roles were reversed, it's the easiest point to make, but it's true. If the roles were reversed, it would be a national news story, every Republican being hounded to condemn and all this stuff. Well, instead, it's just sort of brushed off to the side because the rules are not applied evenly.
We're not asking for people to be outraged over name-calling. We'd prefer it be taken away, but to the very least be consistent if you're going to be outraged in it, and don't allow what is now the president to use it against half of America. I think that's pretty simple, right?
Should be.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.